One November night in 1971, a man jumped from a hijacked jet with $200,000 and vanished. No name, no photograph, no body. 55 years later, the FBI still cannot say who he really was. Every date, dollar figure, and detail here comes from FBI case files and named news sources listed in the description. On November 24, 1971, a man calling himself Dan Cooper paid cash for a one-way ticket, Portland to Seattle. He handed over a $20 bill. The fare was $12.04. Nobody remembered him boarding. Witnesses called him forgettable. Mid-40s, dark hair, dark suit, a raincoat, thin black tie. Nothing stood out. After 3 o'clock, he passed flight attendant Florence Schaffner a note claiming he had a bomb in his briefcase. He opened the briefcase, showed wires and red sticks, then demanded 4 parachutes and $200,000 in cash. In Seattle, he freed all 36 passengers for the money and parachutes, keeping a few crew members, including the pilot. Investigators drew a composite sketch within days from crew descriptions. 55 years on, it's still the best likeness anyone has. He ordered the jet into the sky toward Mexico City, with exact instructions: minimum safe speed, under 10,000 feet. Landing gear down, wing flaps at 15 degrees, cabin unpressurized, the rear stairway ready to lower, every detail specific. A little after 8 that night, somewhere between Seattle and Reno, he jumped from the rear stairs with the money. That rear air stair could lower mid-flight. A Boeing 727 design feature no engineer expected anyone to use this way. After copycat hijackers tried the trick in 1972, regulators fitted every jet with a latch nicknamed the Cooper vane. The FBI opened a case they internally called NORJAC for Northwest hijacking, and it became one of America's largest manhunts. Within 5 years, agents had considered more than 800 suspects, narrowing the list to fewer than 24 names. In 2016, the FBI redirected resources away from active work on the case, unless new physical evidence surfaces. About 8 years later, in February 1980, an 8-year-old boy found something buried in a riverbank sandbar. Brian Ingram was digging on a family picnic when he uncovered 3 rotting packets of $20 bills, still banded together. $5,800 total, serial numbers matching the ransom exactly. The first physical clue since the hijacking. Nobody has ever proven how those bills reached that riverbank. Maybe they washed downstream for years. Nobody truly knows. Over the decades, a handful of named men have been suspected, though none was ever formally charged as Cooper himself. Richard McCoy copied the method 5 months later, hijacking another plane, demanding money, and jumping from the same rear stairs. Unlike Cooper, McCoy left fingerprints and got caught. He always denied being Cooper, but his own children later disagreed. One suspect, Kenneth Christensen, worked the airline, had military parachute training, and bought a house and cash the next year. On his deathbed, he reportedly told his brother, quote, "There is something you should know, but I cannot tell you." 2 more men, Dwayne Weber and Robert Rackstraw, were named by different investigators over the years. Neither claim was confirmed. Here's what most videos on this case miss. New evidence has actually surfaced within the last few years. In 2022, an aviation investigator found an old parachute hidden on the McCoy family's property in North Carolina. The rig matched details only the original parachute rigger would have known, so the FBI seized it in 2024. After 2 years of DNA and soil testing, agents returned the parachute in December 2025, no verdict given. The FBI is also comparing DNA from that same family against an old partial profile lifted from Cooper's abandoned necktie. That necktie once carried over 100,000 microscopic metal particles, titanium, bismuth, hinting at an aerospace career. As of this video, no DNA match has been confirmed. This remains the closest science has come to an answer. In January 2026, the FBI released roughly 686 pages of new case files from its investigation. One detail stood out. Cooper had actually taken apart one parachute, apparently checking it, before ever strapping it on. He also knew details about that jet's refueling and route that reportedly went beyond what the flight crew itself understood. 55 years later, the FBI has never confirmed a name. Cooper remains the only unsolved air piracy case in history. Maybe he survived and lived quietly for decades. Maybe the jump killed him in those forests. Nobody has proven either. That mix of danger, money, and a truly open ending is exactly why this case still fascinates people today. So here is the verdict 55 years on, the one case that was never closed. Subscribe for one true history mystery every week. Always fact-checked, always sourced, and never the boring textbook version. Next week, the 1904 Olympic Marathon, the strangest race ever run, with cheating, poison, and a genuine near-death finish. See you there.